down that music. Welcome to a new live stream, and well, you guys have been asking for it for a long time. When is there going to be smoke? Well, in theory, today we're going to see some smoke. Hopefully not fire, but smoke. So let's wait a little bit until we're actually at the start. Actually, I still need to prepare some stuff, so I'm going to be moving around. But, hey guys. Because, well, I thought out these tests, but then I hit a little snag. Hey, oh, Brian starts off with a $1 donation. Thanks a lot. Smoke, smoke, smoke. Oh, yeah. But I ran into a little snag on how to actually connect everything together while we're doing the tests. So, I'm hoping I can find something that will fix that. But I don't remember where it is. It's never a good thing. We're going to need this. We're going to need this. We'll need this. Turn down the lights to have extra power through the wires. Yeah, I didn't even put on a nice show for you guys. Oh, such well preparedness. Preparedness? Is this a thing? No. Nope. 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 I know I have this kind of stuff, I just don't know where. Could it be in here? Who knows? It is not. I'm looking for some beefy terminal connection blocks, basically, where I can make a straight through connection, but is bigger than a WAGO because, well, the sizes of wire we're going to try and use is much bigger than a WAGO. But where would I have put those? Start your car with Pee-wee? I don't think that's the thing. You know where I put them? Next to all the other terminal blocks. Which are then, I don't know where either. Let me search for a minute more, hold on. Where could those be? I think they were in this drawer down here, but they're not. Oh wait, maybe they are. Hold on. Oh! Well, at least these are what I was looking for. I'm not sure they'll suffice, but I'll show you in a minute. Don't worry. Yes. Okay. So I thought I put them into that drawer, and they were actually in that drawer. That's not bad. Oh, I forgot to turn off the light. Hold on. Hold on! There we go. Okay. Hey guys, so, what's everyone saying? Yeah, I thought I had everything prepared, but then I ran into a little issue, and, well, okay, it's 17 past, so I'm allowed to start. So today, if you watched the last Quinbox, we're going to take a whole bunch of different wire sizes. Actually, let me show you on this camera. So lots of different wire sizes, and we're going to run actual LED current. This is now a thing called LED current through them to see what the effect actually is of not using the proper wire gauge. So we have like 24 gauge or we have like 8 gauge. Does it make a difference? Will this instantly go up in smoke and flames? Well, I got my I did prepare some stuff because I have my my can of fire stop here. Should I shake it before use? No, doesn't say shake before use. Okay. Yeah, so I've got fire stop. So if there's a fire, I should be able to stop it. But let's hope I can stop it before it becomes a fire just in the smoke stage. I guess I could unwrap these wires now. But I ran into a little snag just now, because if you look at this power supply, it doesn't have normal terminals. Now I have a 40 amp power supply, which I usually test with, which does have normal terminals, so we would have been able to go ahead in any case. But this is an 80 amp power supply, and it's always better to have more amps. Oh wow, this beefy cable here. Look at that. Damn. No, it's not a proper fire extinguisher. It's a fire extinguisher can. And, well, let's just hope we don't get a fire, right? I mean, I did get my silicone mat out to see if that'll stop a fire. Anyway, so we're stuck with these screw terminals, for which I will most certainly have to use a ring terminal, because otherwise you just can't use them. Not like a normal screw terminal, I think. Yeah. But I won't be able to make a ring terminal to each cable. So maybe I was thinking, maybe I can use one of these, because these have beefy metal plates between them, so they shouldn't cause too much resistance. But can I get a ring terminal on these? Because this is the biggest connection point I have, basically. Because we need to have a setup where we can easily switch the cables. So, yeah, that's not going to work. Damn it. Oh, wow. You've had to use... Adam says he had to use a fire extinguisher 3 times at home due to a 3D printer and a soldering iron. And no, it was not an ANET 3D printer. Damn, okay. I've never had to do that, luckily enough. So, this isn't going to work either, eh? What to do? just fold the sides of the ring terminal to make it fit. Works perfectly. Yeah, but then I wonder if this is going to take the currents we're going to try and run through it. I mean, I don't mind it getting a little bit hot though. That's fine. Duct tape. Solder them on. I don't know. Okay, let's try and see if we can actually. Oh, okay. This screw is stuck. Okay, let's not use that one. Let's see if we can actually squeeze the ring terminal in there. I don't know. Let me get a proper screwdriver. So we're just doing some preparation works to make it easier to do the tests, basically, and we don't want to invalidate the tests by using an improper setup either. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, look at this. Yeah, no. That's just going to destroy my ring terminal, of which I only have a few. That's not going to work. Okay. So I should have some of those fuse distribution panels. Do I have two? Okay, let's try that. Because this is too small. This is too small. Not going to work. Okay. Use two terminals for one cable. Yeah, but the ring terminal I want to get in there, that I need to fit the highest gauge cable I have, won't fit. So let me see if I have some of those fuse distribution blocks. I should have some of those. Maybe not here. Bear with me here. We just need to prepare for this test a little bit. Where would they have gone? The only place I can think of is very hard to reach, but I'm going to try anyway. Be right back. Yes, better. So I have this guy, but this is not the fuse distribution block I was looking for. If you watched my Chia content, you've seen this one. But this block, what it does, it has a common negative on this side. So there's a minus sign here. I'm not sure you can see that. There we go. That is shared over here. And then there's a plus rail over here, which you connect to this terminal, and then that goes through each of these fuses and then comes out here. So that is not what we need in this case. Yeah, I don't think kit's gonna work in this case. I used kit on the door sign install, because, well, that's not coming loose anytime soon. But I also have this guy, which might actually do. Right, okay. So this thing, well, then I'd have to run all the amps through a single fuse. I guess we could do that. And then here, we kind of have the same deal, I guess. what to do. Or I just get my 40 amp power supply. Could I put a crimp under here without a ring? I guess I could try. Or we could try. We can just try. That's fine. Okay, so we have some ideas. Do I have two of these? No. Wire nuts. Yeah, I believe these are rated for like 100 amps total. Doesn't actually say, of course, because that would be illegal. But these can handle pretty big load. It's all not ideal. No, I don't want to split the terminals and stuff like that, because we'll be creating resistance points, and at some point we'll start fighting against that resistance instead of what I actually want to show you guys. So it needs to be a good connection. So this isn't gonna do it either. Oh, that is very well prepared. Not at all. Right. So let's see how well a simple crimp holds in one of these terminals. Because then we can just use crimped wires and really not bother with anything else. It's not the right way to do it, but it's a way to do it. But yeah. I mean, okay. Option 2. I do have a lot of fork terminals. Don't have more of these. These are all I have. But I do have a lot of, well, see, a lot of fork terminals. And I'm guessing those would actually work just fine. Right, so, okay, yeah, okay, we can do that. Would that be satisfactory? Now, I don't know if I have fork terminals in all the right sizes, though. Because this is 2.5. This is 2.5. Let me guess. This is also 2.5. So, we'll might need to keep these ring terminals for the biggest cable sizes. But at least we can do the smaller tests with these fork connectors. That should be no problem. And I can even use a crimp, a ferrule inside of a fork connection. That's fine too. And we will use a thermal camera. Don't worry about that. Okay. Because, let's see. This is 8 gauge. So this is the thickest I have. Let me cut that open. I'm generating the 40 amp load with 6 5-volt LED bars, and this is also a 5-volt power supply. This is the UHP 500 -24, which is not 5-volt. Come on. Okay. Now my closet doesn't want to open. I should also have a 5-volt version. Let's put this in here. There we go. So this is the UHP 500-5, and it takes 4.7 amps in at 230 volts, and then 80 amps out at 5 volts. I mean, yes, I have my CCA tester right here. So yeah, we're going to be testing if it's copper or CCA using flames, which is always a good idea on a live stream. But anyway, this is 8 gauge cable, And I really don't see any other way than using one of these. Even these might not fit. Wow, okay, these won't even fit. No smoke yet, no smoke yet. Can these fit? Can my wire strippers even handle 8 gauge? We'll be starting with the insane high gauge big wires. Oh, that didn't disappoint. And then we'll move down, because it's probably going to get more exciting once you move down in cable size. So would this even fit? I have to get all the strands inside. The yellow's for 10 gauge, right? Yeah. This cable's just too stupid thick. Strip too much off, I think. Well, I could crimp this. That would make a secure connection. That's okay. Let's do that. Because I don't have any other means of hooking up this kind of big cable. Yeah, even my crimper says it's for 22 gauge up to 10 gauge, and this is 8 gauge. So no, we're just gonna test the gauges right now. The wire gauges, no Ethernet or type cables. Let's see if we can get this somewhat crimped. Yeah, that'll do for 40 amps. I mean, this cable's just nuts. It's not a pretty crimp, but I mean, how am I even going to connect this to the board? I'm already using one of the prototype boards. I don't know, fun text. Stream is a bit fuzzy. What? Maybe set the quality manually. I'm already using a prototype board here because the normal boards have smaller terminals. These would actually fit the ring terminal, I think. But then again, I don't have more ring terminals, so this is all a moot point. Sorry this isn't better prepared. Yeah, maybe we should just skip 8 gauge. I think we're just going to skip 8 gauge. I mean, 8 gauge is fun and all, but we know it's going to work. It's just too thick. So, 8 gauge, conclusion. Don't get it. It's very unwieldy. Yeah. Right, let's first hook up the power supply, because we need to hook up power or AC to the power supply first, and then we can start hooking up other types of cables. Yeah, exactly. So 8 gauge was just like, oh, they have 8 gauge on the list and it's not too expensive. Okay, let's get it. Maybe not. This should... Oh, why won't even that not fit? In a minute, I'm going to revert back to my other power supply if this keeps up. Right, so can I get these even in there? Yeah, okay, that's fine. So at least on the AC side, we'll have a good connection. Yeah, 24 gauge is also on the list, and that is either 24 or 26 is often used in Ethernet cabling, but Ethernet cabling isn't suited for a lot of power. PoE works because it's a very high voltage, but even then I don't believe they use more than half an amp or something like that. I use both AWG and millimeter squared. I'm a Dutch guy, so millimeter squared is actually the thing over here. But talking online, wire gauge is often pretty easy to use also. I did put a calculator in the description with which you can convert. So all these cables are in gauge, and then you can just input like, okay, 18 gauge, and that is like 0.8 millimeter square and stuff like that. Right, so these AC connections should work. That is good. Oh, okay. That's actually pretty nice. It's pretty well shielded like that. Okay, so then pull this out. I have a watt meter on the AC side. It's not going to be 100% accurate, but it should be good enough, especially because this power supply also has an active PFC and stuff like that, so it's pretty efficient. Okay, so we had 8 gauge, right? And conclusion of 8 gauge is it's too thick. Don't use it. Okay, great conclusion there. Let's see what we have then. Then we have 10 gauge, and 10 gauge, it doesn't actually say what the millimeter square is. I can look it up for you guys. AWG to mm. Okay, so 10 gauge is 5.2 millimeter square. That's really thick cable there. And let's see if we can get that into these terminals, because I think, or into these fork connectors, because I think those would also fit on the board. Yes, perfect. And we already tested it on here. But then again, will this cable go into this little plug here? I also have a little box which should have some different sizes too. Is this bigger? Oh. 50 amps for 8 gauge. Way overkill. Yeah. No, it's not bigger. And the red ones are even smaller. You've been promised lots of smoke. And we're still trying to make the setup work, basically. Okay. Well, we know the larger gauges aren't going to smoke. So maybe that's, I don't know, what's this, 12? Yes. So, first problem with large gauges, how do you even hook it up? Yeah, 14 to 16, but these are custom. These don't necessarily follow the color rules, so they can basically be anything, really. Let's see if these actually have a bigger size. And I thought I had a lot of fork and ring connectors, but it turns out those were spade connectors and not ring. Yeah, I still don't think I can get these in, but they should go in here. So, okay. But then I just wasted the only ring connector I had of that size, because I need 4, and now I only have 3. Right, what I'm going to try, I do have a lot of ferrules. So what about we take a ferrule 4 millimeter, that's a 4 millimeter ferrule, and the cable is 5. Let's see if that works. I didn't think getting the cable to fit into the terminal would be this big of an issue. But then again, the exciting part isn't in these thick cables, because we know these thick cables are going to work. The exciting part is in the thin cables. Yeah, I can already tell you this ferrule isn't going to go on this cable either. Hey, Johnny's here! I thought you didn't have time, Johnny. You can watch me fumble by not having the right stuff. Yeah, this ferrule will never go on this cable. Ha! Yeah, so 10 gauge, we're going to sideline 10 gauge too. There we go. I guess we'll start with, what do we have here? 12. And this is 14. Okay. Let's see what we can do with 12. Will 12 fit in here? How big is 12? 12 is 3.3 millimeters square, so that should fit into this ferrule. Or actually into the blue spade. The blue fork. Yep. Let's see if we can make this work. Yeah, sure. That'll work. I can crimp that. I keep stripping off too much, but for this test, I'll take it. Right? Yeah, that's fine. I mean, this is not a good crimp or cable connection, but it'll do for the test. No, you can't, with this type of power supplies, you cannot use the bare terminals. Or the bare wires into the terminals. That'll never work. You can maybe do that with the little small type power supplies and wires, but with this kind of cable, that's just not gonna even fit. Yeah, great work here. Not. This is not the way to do it. Just saying. Mark, thanks, man, for the Corona. Okay. Right. Second thing to decide, now that we have a cable we can actually mount, is how long are we going to make our testing leads? Because we want to keep the length the same, and we're going to be testing basically the input into a Dig-Quad. And a prototype model with bigger terminals, but sure. I'm thinking something like this, right? And then we'll just make all the cables the same length, because that is this centimeters? Oh wow, I actually have a centimeter scale on here. So this is, let's see here, 25. Let's make it about 50 centimeters. No, because if you're hooking up a power supply, how often do you use like 1 meter or 2 meter cables? This is from the power supply to the Dig-Quad. So I think 50 centimeters is a reasonable value. So I'm just going to cut it here. And that should be about... yeah, that works out. With the scale on the mat, that's about 50 centimeters of cable. Okay, good. Oh, Johnny's here. We want smoke. Also, SAKS rules. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, this was 12 gauge. Yeah, 12 gauge or 3.3 millimeters square. We still have to do the other side of the cable. So let's adjust my crimper to not make stupid long crimps or cable cutter. Cable stripper. Cable stripper. Yes. Yes, that's much better. I won't be able to get them in without twisting. Oh, CCA test. That's right. That's a good one. I'll do that on a separate piece of the same cable. So let me get these crimps on here real quick. Yeah, see, that's much better because now they basically fit together without any exposed copper, which is what you want. Perfect. Okay, so these are now securely crimped on there, so that's good. Let's do a CCA test real quick, like Philip mentioned. I was forgetting to do that, so I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna strip a part of this. So I'm gonna strip a good part of this. There we go. Let's cut that off. So the way you know if it's copper or copper-clad aluminium, thanks man, is by burning it basically. And if it's copper, it should get red hot and not break off. But if it's copper-clad aluminium, it should start curling back pretty quickly and then start breaking off and actually almost dissolving because, well, that's just different properties. So let's see what happens. That's looking pretty good. It should discolor a little bit if it's copper, turn kind of blackish. This is getting pretty warm in my hand. That sucks. But yeah, this is copper, because copper-clad aluminium, I've seen it before, just starts to break down basically. Let me get a holder. We can torch it some more. But you see that it's glowing red hot and it's not really breaking down. No, you don't need to use one strand. Yeah, I've seen CCA before, and CCA, I don't have CCA to demo, no. It's a nice bit of smoke here. But I've seen CCA before, and that would have definitely already started peeling back and breaking down, and yeah. Okay. So now I have this smoking hot piece of copper here. Well, we have a silicone mat. It should hold. That's fine. There we go. Let's put it there. Okay. So we have this cable properly made on one side. When the strands are bent, I don't know about that. I just know, from what I've seen before, it's just, it starts to break and peel back. And, yeah. The spoke was not magic, does not count. Okay, sure. So, this side, not that well put on connectors. This side, good put on connectors. Just so you know. Let's use this side over here. Oh, okay. I forgot. That was hot. Yes. Nope. These are too strong. They are too strong for the screwdriver. Okay. Right. So that makes a very secure connection. That's good. We are currently at 12 AWG or 3.3 millimeters squared. And if you take a current production Dig-Quad, you're never even going to get that in there because these terminals won't take that kind of sizes. But I'm working on a prototype model which I fitted with bigger connectors. partly to do these tests to see if it's actually useful of maybe changing that in the future. So there's no real plans to do that yet, but oh, seems I ripped my cable here. That's not good. That could have very unexpected results. Let's put some Kapton on there. Yeah, American cable, whatever, gauge, size, thingamabob. So, I kind of exposed the cable here when ripping it in half. Always have to watch out for that. So let's put a little bit of shielding around that. Okay, that should be good and no longer exposed. Oh yeah. I'm not too worried about this cable failing at all. That should be perfectly fine. But it is a good test for our power supply. And, well, the board has multiple terminals for a reason. So now we're going to be running 40 amps to basically these single pins, which is also an interesting test, right? Let me get this out of the way. Right. I need to see how I'm going to organize this on my desk here. Because we have the power supply, which we kind of want to see. And I need to put these LED load bars somewhere. And we want to see the cable, of course. So let's do the cable like that. Okay, we have a bunch of LED load bars here, and I think I after the last live stream, I added a bit of hot glue here to make sure this is all in securely and doesn't move anymore. So that's now all fine, and I think I'm just gonna go and stand them up like this. Yeah, I guess that could work. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna try and not influence the camera, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, we'll see if this is the Magic Smoke live stream, but we're for sure gonna try. First, I need to gather my loads here. Oh. Okay, I think this should work. So let me hook up some cables. Well, we can hook up this one to the secret 5th LED port. Which is the Q1R. Doesn't really matter which one goes into where, but let's put these into the same terminal. because they'll share data and just do the same. That's fine. Pink wires for Johnny. Oh yeah. Get some sausages ready for the barbecue. Yeah, you're not wrong. This will get hot. Okay, I need to squeeze 2 of these wires in this single terminal here. Okay, there we go. Well, I have the LED bars pointed away from me, so hopefully I don't get blinded. Okay, ESP can go back on. And now we hook up the power wires. Oh, actually, we can use these on the side. It's easy. And then we need this one. I put it in all 10 amp fuses so that we shouldn't have too many popping fuses like we had last time. Even though we're going to share terminals, so we might still get some, but then we'll just replace the fuse. Sometimes these wires want to go in, sometimes they don't. But this is still using the current terminals we use on the boards. We are actually having luck finding a new one, which we're going to be using soon. Oh wait. I put it in the wrong terminal. There we go. Last one. For the plus side. And then these all go here. Okay. No making dead shorts. Well, everything on the board is fuse protected in theory, although this is a prototype, so the fuses might have been bypassed somewhat. Wait, I didn't even notice it was in front of my face. Nobody told me. Okay, should work. Yeah, the Wago style connectors, you're easily talking 10 times the price, and then they're still limited into wire gauge or ferrules you can get in there. They need more board space. Yeah, because this, well, it's not a non-premium product, but it's also not a premium market product. I decided against that. I just use cheap terminals that are rated and tested by me to handle the actual current we're going to use them for. Okay. Right. So we have our incoming wire. Then we have our mess of outgoing wires. And that should be 6 LED bars using 5 to 6 amps each. I think WLED is still on this ESP. Not entirely sure, but we'll see. Let's see if it blows up. Not bad. Not bad. It's actually the first time I've turned this power supply on. So that's a good sign. Let me check the IP address. $115. Hold on just a second. Right, so you can actually see the bars in the corner there. So if I turn it to green, you can see the bars, and turn it to blue. Bring on the smoke! Oh yeah! Well, we're currently drawing 50 watts from the socket, so there's not going to be too much smoke yet. Do you want to see WLED? I guess you do. So here's WLED, and currently we're drawing 50 watts from the socket. We can go to red. That is 30 watts from the socket, but we're only at half power. So if we go to full power, a single color, let me check if all the bars are working actually. Yeah. Yes, all the bars are displaying colors. Good. Now they're... Oh no. Sure, something like that. I'm still here. 50 watt at... What does the volt matter if it's watt? No, it's 50 watt at 230 volt, but it's also 50 watt at 5 volt. Because if you have 50 watt at 5 volt, it's 10 amps. But if you have 50 watt at 230 volts, well, it's 50 divided by 230. So that's like not even an amp. So watts is always watts. Doesn't matter what the voltage it is. If you say 10 amps, well, then it's 10 amps. And then you need to know the voltage to know the watts. Yes, so 50 watt is at 5 volt, which we're running for, over here, is 10 amps. So, yeah. Okay, let's crank it up a little bit. Let's go down, actually, and then let's put it to white. And I don't know if I messed with the white settings. Let's see here. Yeah, I think I messed with the white settings because now it's only drawing 90 watts. Let me go to LED preferences. All right. Let's set this back to, so the auto calculate white channel from RGB. Let's set that back to dual. And now if we up to 50% white, that is 100 watt from the socket. So that's 20 amps at 5 volt. No, brightness limiter is off. And let's go to full power. That is 204 watts from the socket. So that kind of equates 40 amps. Now, there is going to be some inefficiency because it has to be converted by this power supply, basically. But this being such a high-end power supply, that isn't actually too much. It's probably in the 90 to 95% range. So, the screen over here is a bit blown out. Now, the first test I want to do, while this is running without a problem, this cable probably isn't going to get very hot. Yeah, the camera might be slightly oversaturated. So, first we want to know is what voltage is the power supply currently putting out. And as you can see, that's a very nice 5.09, so let's say that's 5.1 volt. Now, the tests we're going to do is by using a cable of this length, what voltage arrives at the board? Yeah, this 200 watt LED sun. So if we're measuring here, we see that we only have 4.8 volts reaching the board. That actually means that this cable is already... Oh, it's already getting warm actually. Wow. But because it's getting warm, that also means that it's dropping voltage because it's losing energy, which is being transferred into heat. And this cable has easily gotten 10 degrees above ambient. So, as I said, we had 5.09 coming in. Exactly. But then at the board, we only have 4.831. So that means we've lost like 0.2 volts somewhere. And, well, that is lost in heat. And that also already shows you how important it is to use the proper wire gauges, because if you use, well, we're going to do that soon, smaller gauges, well, this will only get worse. Right? Oh yeah, these cables are rated for 200C because they're all silicone. Oh, wow. Wow, it's hot. It's warm. So let me get out the Flir and my phone. I thought this cable would actually do better. But then again, it's a single cable. So the next thing we'll do is we'll double up and see if that fixes the issue, basically. Right. Oh, I need a little block. I need a little block. So let's put the Flir on here. No smoke yet. No smoke yet. Right. So let's see here. Starting at the power supply, the cable's measuring 43C. But here, where it comes together, it's actually 50C. And over here, where they're on top of each other, it's measuring 54 degrees Celsius. Now looking at the board, so we have the connectors here. This connector is 62 degrees. And this connector is 68 degrees. So the plus connector. And well, we're running most of these through its own fuse, but two are running through a single fuse. And let me show you this a little bit better. Sorry about that. And now my face is in the way. Can you guess which fuse is running 2 bars instead of 1? So this fuse is currently 84 degrees. I'm using math. Oh no. Yeah, so I'll try and show you this time. Focus on the phone. Right. So here the cable is a single part, that's 52. And then over here it's actually getting quite hot. The cable is already 60 degrees. Now this is silicone cable, so that's fine for that can go up to 200 degrees basically. Yeah, it's hot. It's definitely hot to the touch. Oh, we can look at the power supply. You can't look at metallic surfaces. That doesn't work with the infrared or the thermal camera. But over here it's 45. So our terminal connections are fine. Those are not causing a restriction or anything like that. But looking at the cable, yeah, well, it's pretty hot. And well, the board is also starting to heat up. Let me see if I can show you the bottom side of the board, because that was lying on the table. This is a prototype testing board, so it's only 1 OZ. It's not 2 OZ. So here is where that hot fuse is. And you can see that the board is about 70 to 72 degrees, 76. I'm trying to show you guys, hold on. And over here, it's actually not too bad. The board is about 65, 66 C. That's okay. It can take that for a while, but I wouldn't be comfortable running that for a long while. But, well, as you can probably already tell, the boards have been kind of over-engineered to handle the power draw. But I'd rather be safe than sorry. Yes, this is a 1OZ board. It's a prototype board, but the power distribution on the board itself hasn't changed that much. It's mostly the input terminals that have changed. So current boards can handle the same amount of power. And all pre-assembled boards are 2OZ. And, well, as this test shows, that might not even be necessary. Let's lower this down. But just for, you know, safety and comfort's sake, we do everything 2OZ so we know it can handle the power. OZ is the amount of copper on the board. So you can get a 1OZ or 2OZ board, and basically a 2OZ board has twice as much copper on the board. So then it has, well, can transfer the power easily because it has more copper. Let's actually get that same cable back. Well, because I want to do a test, because we can already see that this cable, which is 12 gauge, which is nuts. Let's turn this off. Is already getting quite hot. But what if you actually do want to run this amount of power through the board? Well, you double up cables. Now, I don't expect people to run 40 amps continuous through the board. The boards officially are rated for 30 amps continuous. But I have tested most of my boards, or most of the Dig-Quads, etc., with 50 amps continuous. I did that with previous load situations and stuff like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make another exact one of these cables and then see if having two cables to the same power supply actually helps, well, keep it cooler or does nothing, right? That's a good test. So even with 3.3 millimeter square or 12 gauge, you're still not safe. Yeah, we go double 12. So this is 12 gauge. Well, you can't see that. This is 12 gauge. It's the same cable as the other one we made. So we're just going to make another one and then hook up both of them and then see if, when we measured before, we got to 4.83 volts. Maybe we can stay at 5 volts or like 4.95 or something like that. So maybe we can have less drop when we double 12 gauge instead of single 12 gauge run, right? Oh. Well, effectively it would have the same amount of copper as... No, I don't know if 6 gauge would work. Effectively, it would have... well, the double millimeter square... No, not double millimeter square either. Ah, these cable thingies are difficult. Okay. Because, I mean, if you're running all these cables and the power coming out of your board is already 4.7 volts, that's just, you know, and it then has to go to your LEDs, it'll only become less. Yeah, 212s is probably more around 9 or 10. I don't know how that scaling works. But it doesn't double in the number, at least. Or half. Oh, I didn't put up an affiliate for the Flir. Ask me on the Discord, and I'll respond after this, and maybe in the Quinbox channel or something like that. I can get you an Amazon link, which would be very much appreciated. They barely fit, but they fit. Like we just saw, the crimp connections certainly weren't a problem. Okay, screwdriver. Yes, we want smoke. Okay. I mean, this is a lot of copper. This isn't some flimsy cable here. All of these cables are, by the way, linked in the description because I was testing a new Aliexpress seller, which had very good prices. And, well, as we just saw, it's not CCA, so that's good. And it did just do 40 amps over a single cable. I mean, 40 amps is quite a lot. Right. So let's get them on here. So especially on the Dig-Quad, I'm considering this new terminal style because, well, as you can see, bigger cables are useful on here. And with the previous type of input terminals, you just couldn't do that. And the output terminals are still fine because you're going to use lots of those anyway to distribute the current. But input could do, so I'm kind of liking it. Yeah, I looked around, Yo-Yo Scarrett, that just doesn't exist. Or I'd have to custom order them, and then they're 10 times more expensive than these versions already are. So, I don't want to pay like $1.50 for one connector terminal. Then the price of the product would just go through the roof. Let's see here. Red, red, black, black. Red, red, black, black. Stupid crimps, good crimps. Okay, let's go. Right, okay, we have the orange display again. And I'm not going to show you WLED because we're just going to go to white. We're at 106 watts and we go full power. And we're at 204.3, exactly the same as we were before. But now let's see what the voltage is. Because I expect on our power supply over here, 5.09. 91, okay. 5.09, that's really tightly regulated, 5.09. Okay, so on the power supply side, we're seeing exactly the same as we had before. But now let's see on the board side, 4.967. So we're losing from 5.09 to, well, 4.96. So we're losing less than 0.1 volt. I mean, we can check the other terminals and combinations and stuff like that. Yeah. So we've improved the voltage drop going from the power supply to the board. So now the board gets a higher voltage because there's less resistance on the cables, so less power is being converted to heat. Yeah, that's way better than before. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, this wasn't some cheap-ass cable. I mean, I can actually now measure on the cable. Yeah, that's fine too. So that the terminals don't add too much resistance either. Well, actually, not increase in voltage, less drop in voltage. And we can actually also measure the other side. So going through the board, of course, there's also going to be resistance. But even this being 1 OZ, because of the power planes and stuff I have in there, we're going from 4.96 to 4.85. So that's less, that's slightly more than 0.1 volt drop. But anything transferring power will have power loss. And this being 1 OZ instead of 2 OZ, that's actually not too bad. Yes, we'll do the Flir. Hold on. Actually, I'm going to take a drink because then it has a little bit of time to heat up. Today we have a glass, and in the glass is Coca-Cola Zero Cinnamon. Hey. So although it's midsummer, I'm already tasting Christmas a little bit. Yes, the LEDs will effectively have more power now because we're wasting less power. Let's see here. Okay. Okay, here is the power supply. Power supply is also getting warm, that's fine. So, coming out of the power supply, the cables are like 38 now. That was about 45 before. And over here, where they come together, they're only about 35, 36 now. Which is perfect. That is very acceptable temperatures. Looking more over here, for instance. So my finger is 37.2. Let me show you guys. Turn this one off. Zoom in on this one. Right. So cables 37. My fingers, where are they? 37.6. Anyway, let's see the board connection here, because that should also cool down now. Yeah, so if you look here, okay, the cables coming into the board are about, you can't see that. They're about 43, 45. Let's see over here. Nope. 41, 42. Yeah, when there's something hot here, so the fuse is actually running hotter than before. It's almost 90 degrees now. But that's probably because the voltage that's going through there is now higher, so there's likely more dissipation. But yeah, 40-degree cables are perfectly fine. The traces, yeah, I got to. This is a prototype, Rob. The traces on the board were modified to accommodate, well, the new terminals, of course. Oh, damn it. But otherwise, there's not much change in after those, basically. But I'm looking into these to change the input terminals because those were, well, harder to deal with larger gauges. And the output terminals, we are actually also looking at different terminals which will accept the wire ferrules a little bit easier, but still handle the at least 10 amps per terminal. But yeah, I think I like this, so we'll probably start changing this at some point. But this is a prototype board. But yeah, that's looking good. So this is 2 times 12 gauge cable, so 2 times 3.3 millimeters squared. That is a lot of copper. I mean, look at these cables. And this is a bad crimp, but look at those cables. That's a lot of copper going into that board. Well, we've been running the board for a few minutes now. Let's see what it's doing. This is a 1 OZ board, not 2 OZ. Let me get that in focus for you guys. There we go. Then I can just move the board, I guess. So under that hot fuse, where we're running at least 10 amps through it, it's about 73, 75, 79, but we're running 40 amps through this board. I mean, it's rated for 30 amps, it's designed for 50 amps, but we're not going to talk about that. And this is 1 OZ. All production boards are 2 OZ, so that'll definitely decrease the heat. On the other side, we're seeing 50C on one of the pins here. It's pretty good. And on the output terminals, because they're also spread out, you basically don't really see an issue because all the load is spread over all the copper on the board. But yeah, 1 OZ testing board, so don't draw too much conclusions on that. All production boards will always stay 2 OZ anyway. Right. So the reason we started with this 12 gauge and actually doubled up now, so double 12 gauge, is because, let me adjust my camera real quick. Nope. Because I wanted to show the effect of what you actually need. Running 40 amps. I mean, 40 amps continuous is an insane load. But, oh no. My construction is failing. Okay. I mean, 40 amps continuous is an insane load. But if you want to run 40 amps, it seems like 5.09 from the power supply. And then to the board, after about 50 centimeters of cable, 4.967, you kind of want to run double 12 gauge. Which is a lot. But 40 amps is a lot. So, I mean, yeah. Let's turn that down a little bit. Cool. Rob is planning on running his complete Christmas show on Dig-Quads this year. Awesome. Yeah, using Ethernet, that's been working really well for me too. So I don't think there will be any problems with that. This Meanwell UHP 505 -5, which can do 80 amps, it didn't even get warm. And we were running it with 40 amps continuously for at least like 5 to 10 minutes. That's quite something. So if you need a beefy power supply, UHP 500 -5. They're about $100 a piece, but they'll do 80 amps. I'm not too worried about this doing 80 amps. 40 amps, no sweat. Doesn't even get warm. Okay. So this is basically, this showed us what you need to do to run 40 amps. Now let's show you what you shouldn't do when you want to run 40 amps. So we had 8, 10, and 12 gauge, and this is double 12 gauge, and that is the correct amount for 40 amps. But we also have 10. No, we also have 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, and 24. What should we go to? I mean, we could test them all, but let's choose 2 sizes. I'm thinking this is 12, or double 12. Let's step down to 1 times 16, and then to 1 times 20, and then to 1 times 24. No, don't go immediately to 24. No, no, we haven't been streaming that long. I have to, stretch it out. Yeah. No. I'm running actual LEDs. So all these wires are going to 6 bars, which each have 143, because we had to cut one off in the previous live stream, SK6812 RGBW LEDs. So this is a real LED load, which is drawing 204 watts from the socket. So it might be 37 or 38 amps and not actually 40 amps, because the power supply will have some loss. Now this is a very high-end power supply, so it's close to 40 amps. But yeah, these are real LEDs in... I can't get the bars right now, but we made the bars in the previous live stream. Yeah. So this is a real load, not a synthetic load. Basically, the only way to get 40 amps with 6 bars of 144 SK6812s is by running them with RGB plus W, because that just uses an insane amount of power, and any normal LED setup won't really do that. Oh, that's a good one, Air Cookie. Yeah, well, actually, that's one of the things I want to show, that if you drop below 4.5 volt incoming, the board is actually going to shut down, because the front buck regulator won't accept any lower than 4.5 volts to start up. But we'll that's things we're going to look at. So this was double 12. So let's go to 16, because 16 is a value a lot of people use, and you know. Is this 16? No, this is 18 gauge. Okay. So this might be 16. Yes, 16 gauge. Okay, let's make them exactly the same size. Well, roughly the same size. Okay. Sure. Oh yeah, right. Let me get a separate piece then. These are all from the same supplier, so I don't expect suddenly one to be CCA, but it's good to test. I mean, that's partly why we're doing this, to test. So I cut off 2, so I guess I'll prepare 2 cables. But let's do CCA test. Okay, where's my hot cable holder? Where did I put it? Oh, here it is. Okay. Well, I guess I can show you a bit closer this time. There we go. Well, I actually want to hold the cable higher. There. Oh, it's a thunderstorm just started here. Let's see what happens. Okay, CCA test. One strand folded, as you can see here. But it's staying red hot and it's not really breaking. It's discoloring, that's good. Yeah, I vote this is copper. Yeah. Okay, I vote this is copper. And I also vote this is real silicone, because if this was PVC, that would have been melting by now. Okay. So let me put that here because it's hot. But yeah, as you can see also from the other sample, it should discolor black like that. That's good. Yeah, exactly, Patrick. Aluminium, this was already way too long a test for aluminium. That would have just broken off and not really get red hot. And yeah, yes, I believe this is a good supplier. Yes, and the link to them is in the description. So while that is cooling down, let me make this cable. Oh no. Okay. Let's see. Can we still put the blues on there? I think so. Ah, smell of burnt cable. So instead of testing all the different sizes, let's do 1 and 2 cable tests again. And we'll just see how it does. Yes, all links are affiliate links, but that should also be in the description. Might be slightly too small, let's see. Hold on. There we go. Oh, that's okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yep. It's a kind of brute force way to determine the metal, that's for sure. No, we got a can of fire stop. So, thanks for stopping by. But we are getting into this cable will become a lot hotter territory. Okay, that's one cable. Let's just start with one, shall we? No, yeah. I'll make the second one. Okay. Because 16 gauge is a very common gauge you can also get in local shops and stuff like that. So I think a lot of people would actually be hooking it up with double 16 gauge. Now, don't underestimate the load we're putting on these. 40 amp load isn't normal. Your normal LED setup will not do 40 amps continuous. I specifically selected the SKA 6812s because they have the W LED, and that LED uses a lot more power than the R, the G, or the B. So it's a very unrealistic scenario we're testing. But then again, if I know 40 amps is going to work fine, well, 30 and 20 amps or whatever is also going to be working fine. Some songs in this playlist are pretty funny. They start talking and stuff. Yes, getting closer to Smokeland. So do we want to test it from big to small? So do we first want to test double 16 and then go to single 16. I think that'd be the way to do it, right? Hey there, Mr. Fat. Okay, let's hook this up. Let's get these little nubbies out of the way. You want to go to immediately go... No, let's do double 16 first, because we already saw that we kind of need a double 12. So double 16 is a whole lot less copper. Okay. Want a nice silent? You don't like the music? You promised smoke. We demand smoke. Well, we have only been going 1.5 hours. Before it's 2 hours, we'll probably have smoke. Okay. Yeah, but that's a good test, right, Air Cookie? Let's confirm that that's actually the case. So, because then we should see about the same voltage drop as we saw with a single, single 12 cable. Because I kind of know what to expect, of course, and I've done my own tests, but I haven't done all the tests. Like, you know, at some point you kind of figure out what's going to happen. So let's do them. Let's have fun. Okay, red, red, black, black, red, red, black, black. This didn't change. Let's go. Well, the bars get almost too hot to touch, so I think they're about 50, 55 degrees at some point. Yeah, they get hot because we're pumping in 200 watts. That means somewhere that's going to dissipate in heat and a little bit of light. Let's see. We're at... well, I don't care about that anymore. Let's go to full power instantly. White power. No, that sounded wrong. I did not say that. That did not... No! YouTube, beep that out. That's wrong. That... we're not going to talk about that. Anyway. Oh, someone else was live. Okay. Right. We're at 203.5 watts. And let's... Oh, I was going to say let's give it a little bit. But these cables are already getting warm. Damn. Okay. Sure. Yes, white flour. Exactly, Mark. Thanks. Well, there goes the monetization. Yeah. Okay, let's do some... So, power supply should be 5.09. Yes, 5092, 5091. This is a very tightly regulated power supply. Okay, and on the board, we're seeing 4.774. So 2 times 16 is slightly worse than 1 times 12. Wow, can you hear the thunder? Yeah, the silicone shouldn't go up in smoke too quickly. I think it's rated for 120 or 200, not sure. But because now we've dropped down in wire gauge, if we're running 40 amps, the output of the board is only 4.65 volt. And of course, if we say, okay, let's do half brightness white, well, you can see that now the cables are adequate for like 20 amps or something like that. But for 40 amps, well, you can see the effect, basically. If we go to 1/3 brightness, let's do that. There we go. So this is 60 watts, 4.978 volts through the board and the cables and everything. That's fine. 2/3, so now we're at 140 watts, 4.8 volts. That's okay-ish. But then going to 200 watts, so 40 amps, 4.65 volts. That's a bit low because then it still has to go to the LEDs. And then it'll drop even more. So by the time it reaches the LEDs, it's going to be like 4.5, 4.4 volts. So you can also do these tests in your own setup, measuring from the power supply to the board, how much you're dropping there, and then from through the board and then through the board to the LEDs. And you can even figure out that way if you spec your cables correctly or not. Wow, ow, these are getting hot. Okay, let's see how warm they're getting. Yeah, that's not too bad, but I mean, it's not what you want. Triple 12 gauge. I don't think you're going to be able to fit that into the terminals. Okay, let me just do a spot check here. It's not too bad. It's, let's see here, 47. Oh, 54. 53. 50 degrees. Link to the power supply. I don't have one in the description. They are in a recent Quinbox I did. Ow, these cables are hot to hold. You can actually see on the Flir like this that the cable is much hotter than my hand now. So these are 55, 53. Yeah, let me turn off the music real quick. Let's see if there's thunder. You guys can hear it. Okay, 50, 56. Okay, so the cables are between 50 and 60 degrees, right? That's hot. But if that would be the worst case scenario, that would be acceptable in my opinion. That you could run like that. So that's also with the current boards. The current boards have 3 input terminals instead of 2, but they won't accept unlimited big gauges. But on the current board, you could do 3 times 16 and 3 times 16. So then you can easily run the 30 amps the board is rated for. Or you can even run 3 times 18 and 3 times 18. That's what I tested with. That works fine. But I kind of like these bigger terminals because then you can run like 2 times 12, for instance. And the terminals on the power supply are also kind of designed for that. So yeah, so I wonder, oh, if you went for 2 times ground, but 1 times 16 gauge. Oh, we can do that. So let's disconnect this one. That's an interesting test error, Cookie. And then that is this one. Okay. Let's just, let me get a bit of tape. This tape is fine. So we're disconnecting 1 times positive, but keeping 2 times negative, or ground. Let me put a little bit of tape on that so it doesn't accidentally short something. And this is going to get hot, so I'm not using Kapton tape. This is just to kind of isolate it. Okay, so 1 times positive, 2 times ground, both 16 gauge. And then we'll disconnect the ground too. So let's go full power white. And let's see what voltage we're seeing. Okay, power supply 509, perfect. Board 4.6. Oh, and it's going down. So the voltage is going down because the cable is heating up. And as the cable becomes hotter, it gets more resistance, and well, the voltage drops, basically. Yeah, and the terminals don't matter because they're all connected together. Or almost don't matter. Yeah, it keeps dropping. That's because that one positive cable is probably getting quite hot. Oh, the sheath of the cable says 200 degrees. So trying to track my location. It's much easier. Ah, okay, it's much easier to find than that. Okay, so I don't think double ground does too much. We're going to turn this one off. And we're going to just disconnect the whole cable. And then see after a few minutes how hot it gets. And we can already tell from the voltage drop, of course. Okay. Yeah. Should be good. Ow. This cable's hot. Okay, full power white. And input power is now 202 watts. Okay. Can the Flir handle 200 degrees? Don't know. No, Rupert, you're still in time. We're now doing 1 times 16 gauge for 40 amps. So this is still 509. Oh, okay, air cookie. We're now doing a single cable instead of the double ground. And we've dropped down to 4.3 volts instead of the 4.5 we saw before. So the double ground did seem to do something. Wow, okay, 4.3 volts. That's already dangerously close to the board shutting down. Now, it isn't shut down because it needs 4.5 volts to start. But once the board is running, in my testing, it'll stay running down to 4.2-ish volts, something like that. But yeah, this is getting dangerously close. 4.18 volt output to the LEDs. Yeah, this cable, yeah, that's hot. Okay, let me get my Flir. Yeah, exactly. We're dropping almost a volt. Oh, okay, it was 0.7 volts. Still, that's just nuts. Okay, let's see. Oh, wow. So the Flir doesn't actually know. And it's saying about 128 degrees. So if this had been a PVC cable, this would now be melting. Okay? Yeah, let me show you guys. Or try and show you guys. Ow! Ow! I touched the cable. Ow! Okay, 43. Let me try and maneuver a cable where you can see it. Let me turn this off. So, can you see that? 134 degrees. That is not okay. 140 degrees. And this is 16 gauge cable. If this would have been PVC, this would have been melting all over the place. I mean, you can see... Oh, okay, you can't see how floppy it's gotten, but... 130 degrees. Let's see in another spot. $150 degrees. I don't think my Flir goes above 150 degrees. Yeah, oh, wow. Oh, this cable is hot. Damn. Yes, this is full white power. So the power supply is indicating 200 watts going into the board, or 200 watts going into the power supply. Yeah, I have a fire extinguisher here, don't worry. Ah! Damn it! Ow! This cable is really hot. It's also kind of starting to smell a little bit weird. Let's see what voltage we're down to. 4.6 volts. Or 4.26 volts. Okay, so if we go to 50% brightness. So now we're at 92 watt, a little bit more. 103 watts incoming to the power supply. And we're still only getting 4.694 volts. Smell of burning flesh, yeah, that's for sure. So, double 16 was okay-ish, doable. You can run that. You're not going to run 40 amps, so generally going to be fine. Single 16 amps, yeah, maybe not. I have to wait for this cable to cool down before I can take it off. So, let's go to, let's see here, 20 gauge or something like that. $22. Ow. 20 gauge. Okay. I'll start preparing those cables. Yeah, if the Flir says it's 150 plus, it just doesn't know anymore. Not good. Oh, man. Okay, so let me measure out two 20 gauge cables. Or actually, let's just do one 20 gauge cable. Let's see if it will burn. Actually, no, let's make two, because I don't think it'll burn with one. Because the voltage will drop too low. Yeah, thanks, Philip. No, I don't want to try PVC cables there, Cookie. There's a reason I'm doing this with silicone. If this would have been PVC, this test would have been done. PVC at 150 degrees, that's not going to work. That's just going to create a lot of smoke and mess. Maybe if we don't get smoke, but most of the cables I have are silicone, so I'd have to check actually. Okay, I'm turning the music back on because I'm missing it. I do have to start over though. Let's take some of these. Right, so I don't think these will fit in the plugs very well. So I'm going to use some ferrules to put on the ends. And then I'm going to crimp those into the plug. I know, I think we're gonna see smoke. I don't think we're gonna see smoke with 1 times 20 gauge, but I think we might see it with 2 times. Yeah, I was thinking that too, Jeff, that the storm would hit exactly at the same moment, the screen would burst into flames. So hold on here while I prepare this cable. What's 911 in the Netherlands? 112. So 112. Is it the same in Germany, actually, Air Cookie? Before I started streaming, I actually instructed the girlfriend, if I come running out of the garage and I tell you to help me right now, drop everything and help me right now, because the garage is probably on fire. So she's like, oh, okay, I'll stay somewhat prepared then. Because, you know, if I can't figure it out, I have to call the girlfriend. And, yeah. Is that from the IT crowd, dead blank? So, ferrules first, and then we're going to add the crimps at least on one side. Okay. Wait. Where's the other one? Oh, here it is. Starting to get lost in all my cables here. You hope ferrules are PVC, more smoke. Likely they're PVC. Yeah. Okay. Alright, I still need to put these on one side. I know electricians are gonna scream at me again. Don't do that! Okay, I know. But I don't have the right ferrules or right connectors. And this is a pretty secure connection. And I don't know how to get it to connect to the power supply otherwise. So... So this is one side. And this is the other one. Yeah. That's why I built the load bars, because when I did it before with the normal style, you know, the JST connectors like that you get on your LED strip, if you make those go above 120, 130 degrees, they will smoke. But that's basically why I replaced all of those on the cables while we were building those load bars. I mean, those JST connectors are rated for 3 amps, and we were pumping like 6 amps or something like through them. Maybe later, maybe later. We're at about 2 hours now, so it's not too long yet. We'll see. I'd have to check if I still have a working version of those old loads, because those all went up into thermal heaven. Okay. So, let's connect two. Actually, let's connect one, because I think I know what will happen. I'm just gonna connect these like that. Don't really want to put a fork connector on them, and with these terminals that works okay. Okay, so okay, let's disconnect these. Sorry about that. This is 1 times. Okay, let me clean up real quick. This is 1 times 20 gauge. Okay. Red, red, black, black. Yeah, looks good. Okay, so it turns on. We're drawing 34 watts with the standard orange pattern. The power supply is giving us 4.098. That's a little bit higher, but still very accurate. And the board is reading 4.844 while we're only doing 34 watts. Oh no. Okay, so what I think will happen, let's see. We're now at half orange. Let me go to full orange. So we're now at 60 watts going into the power supply. Yeah, this cable's just... I mean, the cable going to the LEDs is thicker than to the board. But anyway, we're now doing 60 watts. That's full orange. That's doing 4.6 volts. And so what I think will happen, if I dim that down and I go to white, and let's go to half white. Yes, 103 watts going into the board, but we're now at 4.1 volt. So that's at 100 watts or 20 amps. And this cable is rapidly getting hot. But the problem is, if I push it further... Oh, nothing happens. Connection to the light failed. Okay. Okay, it already happened. Basically, I can't control the board anymore. Because, well, we lost the signal. That's very correct. But we lost it at 100 watts. So, 20 amps. Oh, voltage is still going down. That means the cable's heating up. Yeah. We're at 4 volt. We've dropped a whole volt over that little cable there. Yeah, we're still at 102 watts, so 20 amps. Yeah, this is thermal runaway, that's for sure. Yeah, oh, okay, this is too hot to touch now. So that's why I prepared 2 cables, because I think with 2 cables we could push through more. But let's see what's happening now. Because we already know, because we tested with 1 times 16 gauge, and that became above 150 degrees. This is 1 times 20 gauge. The Flir doesn't go higher than that. So I have a thermal gun, actually. I can try that. Yeah, you want to retry it and then set it to 40 amps immediately? We can do that. That would make it go quicker. So I'm going to turn it off. Turn it on. Okay, LEDs are on. I'm going to go white. And then instant full power. Now we're at 105 watts. The cable resistance is just... I instantly maxed it out from like 10% to 100%, but it's just not doing it. It's basically limiting it. Oh, nice. Thanks, Nikolay. Try CCA. I don't have any CCA cable, actually. We're at, 3.9 volts? Disable transition. How do I do that? Can you do that? Yeah, below 4.2, 4.3 volts, the DC buck converter shuts down. So the LEDs aren't getting any new input. They're just doing what they were set to at the last point. But I don't even want to know how warm this cable is now. Okay, the thermal gun is right here. Let me check. Hold on. So let's see where we're at. We're at 3.969. It seems stabilized. Yeah, I could power the ESP to keep it online, but it's actually a good option. So let's see. Yeah, thermal gun doesn't really get it. It's saying 54, 50. This cable is definitely hotter than 50 degrees. Okay, I'll try the Flir. I mean, I can feel the heat while hovering over it. So let's, I don't know, over here. It says about 140 degrees. Let's see, another spot. Yeah, about 130 degrees. Okay. So we need to push through more amps somehow, so let me reset this. Yeah, that's kind of the thing. I wasn't sure there was going to be smoke because, as you say, the hotter it gets, the more voltage it'll drop, and yeah. So let's disable transitions. Transition, crossfade. No. Did that do it? Yes. Oh, that did it. We're now at 155 watts going into the power supply. Instead of 100. So power supply still doesn't care. 5.096, sure. Board is like... We almost don't need the buck regulator anymore to get 3.3 volts. We could run the ESP directly off of this. Uh-oh. Oh. Can you see it? There's smoke. There's definitely smoke. Yeah, this cable's smoking. Can you guys see that? I guess not. How do I show the smoke? Oh, man. Yeah, there's smoke here. Okay, I'm going to turn it off. Can you guys see that? Hold on, let me see if I can shine a flashlight. Yeah, no, smoke's kind of dissipated now. Okay, I'll do it again for the stream. It's not going to go up in flames instantly, so... This is very good for my health, too. But I promised smoke, so let's do it. Okay. Bam! 155 watts. Okay, let's go. 155 watts at 5 volts, so that's like 30 amps through a 20 gauge cable. Maybe I can turn these away a little bit. Okay, no smoke yet. We're at 140 watts. Yeah, okay, it's starting to smoke. See it? Do you see it? Can you see the smoke? There's definitely smoke here. Yeah, smoking, yes. Smoking achieved. I don't want to see too much smoke. Okay, let's turn it off. Okay, but does this count as magic smoke? Is silicone smoke, like, bad? Oh my god, okay. No, it's not water boiling. It's definitely not. There's no magic trickery here. Need to space these out better. Oh, Draadstahl! Woohoo! Smoke finally! But does this count as magic smoke? That's the question. I mean, you can I can just hook up a smoke machine, but I'd say this counts as magic smoke, right? Oh, Philip, 10 euros? Damn! Well, we waited 10 live streams for this. Well, we made it happen. Trying to space out these bars a little bit. Oh no, don't fall over. Okay. There we go. Yes. Whew. 24 gauge. No, I don't think 24 gauge is actually going to do anything because the voltage drop will be so much that it just won't reach the amps. At some point, yeah. It won't be much different. I can do it 124 gauge cable. Let's you know, we're here for science. Let's do science. Interestingly enough, the ferrules didn't really suffer. Yeah. Okay, so a very short 24 gauge. Sure, that's a good test. In theory, the shorter it is, the less resistance it should have. Let's see, is this the 24? Yes, 24 gauge, okay. So then, realistically, something like that, right? That's it. Yeah. I don't have a smoke alarm in my garage. Well, I do actually, but it's in the other section. No, we'll do this side. I mean, come on, nobody's gonna use it in either shorter size than that. I don't think it's going to matter too much, though. This is about the same thickness if you get a good LED pre-attached cable on your LED strip. Take care, you're gonna go. You have to go, air cookie. And I know it's proportional to size, but at some point it just, you know. What measurement do you measure smoke in? Yeah, I don't know either. Ah, when burning does not give off toxic fumes. That's good. Yeah, if this would have been PVC cable, it would have likely either burst into flames or just completely melted. Yeah, true. Oh, take care regarding this experiment. Yeah, no worries. That's why it's on a silicone mat and stuff like that. It's okay. And we have our can of... See, this can is very purposeful. Fire stop! Yes! So, you know. Okay. That's good. Now some of these. Yep, that's good. Okay. Okay. Using stranded cable just is a hassle by itself. The connection with a ferrule, especially with like a terminal connector like that, is generally better, yes. You're not supposed to use ferrules in these crimp connectors, but otherwise I don't have the right size, so hey. And with this power supply, you have to have a fork or ring terminal, because otherwise, or connector, because otherwise you won't be able to get the cable in. In these, you could use stranded cable. I just use ferrules everywhere. I just like it a lot better. I always have a good secure connection. Yeah. Okay, let's turn it on. Okay, good so far. Let's get a drink first. Yeah, we'll do white instantly, hold on. So let me check. Incoming voltage, still perfectly fine. We have 34 watts in, so all orange. We're already at 4.7 volts. Let's do full orange. That's 60 watts. We're at 4.5 volts. And now let's do full white. Oh wow, it's drawing 160 watts. Oh, it's drawing 147 watts, 142 watts, 135 watts. Oh, it's already smoking. It's smoking. let me try and show you guys. Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, cancel. Oh, God. Yeah. It's still smoking. Okay, it's stopped smoking. Yeah, 24 gauge? No. Oh man, that was releasing a lot of smoke. Well, there's coughing here. Okay, yes. No. Short 24 gauge cable? No. It started at 165 watts, and by the point I turned it off, it was at 120 watts. Because the voltage drop was just so insane much that, you know, it started drawing less from the power supply, so... How many lumen? Yeah. Well, at 3.2 volts, the LEDs are certainly less bright than at 5 volts. Whew. Okay. I'm not sure I can actually touch this cable. But there's not a lot of mass, so it should cool down pretty quickly. Okay, so, conclusion time. Use the right size cable. Well, let's do some math on that. Because, you know, math. Where did... Oh, okay. It's okay. Because if we take the voltage drop calculator, which I send everyone to do calculations, and we kind of put in what we just tested, so 0.5 meters DC for 5 volt and 40 amp, and let's say we had a 20 gauge cable like we just did. Oh. The calculator actually says that we're only losing 26%. That can't be right. Does it not understand point? Ah, okay, it does not understand point. So let's make it 3 feet. Or 2 feet? I don't know. What? It's going... Oh, of course it's going down. Okay, this was 24 gauge. Oh, wait, it's still on 20 gauge. So 24 gauge... 0.5. Yeah, that was about correct. Yeah, that was about correct. So, at 10 centimeters, okay. But then this shouldn't have gone up in smoke according to the calculator, but it certainly did. I mean, that's just too much. I just don't think it understands or something like that. Because if we say, let's say we had 1 meter, yeah, we had... What? So how long was this cable? Okay, how long was this cable? This cable was 16 centimeters. Okay. Does it make a difference if a dot? No. That's just not correct. Because, well, we just proved it's not correct. So, Robert, having a 24 gauge cable on an LED strip on a single point will never do more than 4, maybe 5 amps if it's a edge connection, or maybe 6 to 7 amps if it's a middle connection. So pushing 40 amps through a cable like this is a very unrealistic scenario because, well, in a realistic scenario that will basically never happen. If you're doing if you're connecting to an LED strip at a certain point, the resistance on that LED strip will kind of automatically limit how many amps it's going to take in at that point. And generally, when calculating, I say that's 3 to 4 amps at an edge connection and 6 to 8 amps at a middle connection, because power can go both ways, basically. I did a whole live stream about that, about how to do power calculations for your setup. Let me find out real quick. Because that one goes into details about how to calculate how many injection points you need, the expected total power, the expected power per point, and then calculating the wire gauge you need and everything like that. Yes, JSTs are rated for about 3 amps. And if you push 5 to 6 amps through them, they will smoke. For sure. So I just linked in the chat the power injection live stream, and that will help you calculate all those things you need to know to design your setup. Oh, I guess I could show it in the window too. Where is it? Yeah, so this is the power collection, the power LED setup talk, the power injection live stream, and there is a document also. You can download that from here. That will run through several setups and show you what you're going to be, what you'll learn how to calculate, so you can design your own setup basically. And that'll take into account maximum amount of power a single injection point will take, cable length, and then copper thickness you need and stuff like that. Prove it? No, we've already proven that this little cable will go up in smoke. So a JST, I mean, this cable, where is it? This cable has about the same thickness copper wire as this cable, so there's nothing left to prove there. It'll go up in smoke for sure. You guys really want me to melt PVC? I don't want to melt PVC cable. That's why I have all silicone cable. So, we certainly had smoke. But that was expected. I didn't expect the setup to actually need 12 gauge cable. Now, as I said, on the current board, there is 3 input terminals, and the reason for that is basically you can get 16 gauge into those okay-ish, and you can get 18 gauge into them perfectly fine. And hooking up your power supply with 3 times 18 gauge will allow you to do those 30 amps continuous. So that's why the board is also rated for 30 amps continuous, because I know the terminals will be able to take that. The board, in regards to power planes and stuff like that, can easily handle more. I designed it for 50 amps. I've tested everything for 50 amps. The terminals will do 50 amps, but I don't like putting things out at their maximum rating, so 30 amps continuous it is, and that's already a whole lot. During any normal LED situation, you're not going to be using 30 amps unless you have thousands and thousands of LEDs connected to a single board with more than these terminals, even dividing it behind those terminals into more blocks and splitting it off, and you'd have to build such an elaborate setup to try and push more through there with normal LED scenarios that generally this is fine, but I do like these terminals better. So I'm going to look into changing our production boards to also use these terminals. Yeah, because I think you can still use wire ferrules on these terminals where you cannot on these. But I do like using the fork connectors and ring connectors if you can get those in there, because they still are walled. But the fork connectors work perfectly fine. They give a very good, secure, good connection. So I think I'll move the quad over to these type. For the Dig Uno, that doesn't make sense. So those will just keep the normal terminals, which is fine for like the 10 to 15 amps most people run to that maximum. Yeah. And, well, this is all, of course, tested with 5 volt, as Tabletronics says. That's why I would never use 5 volt strips outside. That's a good point. At some point, when your cable distance becomes, like, let's say more than 10 meters or 32 feet, 5 volt kind of doesn't make sense anymore. because then even, I mean, these cables were transferring 40 amps, but if you're transferring 10 amps for 4 times the distance, or 8 times, or 10 times the distance, you'll need even thicker cables like this, and it quickly becomes way too expensive, let alone a hassle to install, because you can't solder that to an LED strip, and you have to step it down again, and I mean, yeah, so at some points it makes sense to move into 12 volt LEDs, or, and if you've been watching Quinbox, you've probably seen these pass by, at some point we'll be looking into a 24 volt distribution network. So basically what that means is instead of running 5 volts like we're doing here with, hold on, let me organize this. You know, a 5 volt power supply, you'd run a 24 volt power supply. The board is rated for 24 volts fully, so you can input it directly into the board. You can still use it for power distribution, you can still use it for fusing, etc, etc. That all functions just like normally, but hold on. Exactly. So if you go 24 volt, but then at the endpoints, oh, I thought this one was open, but it's not. At the endpoints, you use buck converters to convert it down to 5 volts, so that the 5 volt cable you're going to run is very short. For instance, this one takes 12 to 24 volts in, and then you can output 15 amps. So if you run your 10 meter cable with 24 volts, now you can just suddenly use 18 gauge or something simple like that. And then at the point where you want to inject, you use one of these, or for instance, and I got a bunch of these to test, which we'll be doing in a follow-up live stream, of course. There's always a plan somewhere. Like this one is supposedly able to output 5 volts. Okay. This one's supposedly able to output 5 volt 10 amps. I'm not sure it'll be able to do that continuously, although I believe this one would certainly be able to output like 10 to 15 amps continuously, but that's why I got several of these different types to basically test, okay, let's replace our power supply with 24 volt, we'll feed the board with 24 volt, and then everywhere where we connect to an LED strip, we use a little power converter, and maybe we can use a small one on an edge connection to an LED strip, and a big one to a middle connection on an LED strip, and basically bridge the wire gaps, or the wires like that, so that we can use normal sized cables instead of nut sized cables. Yeah, I guess this is the sneak peek time, because that is one of the things I want to test in one of the upcoming videos. And that's also where kind of, do I have a populated one? Yeah, that's also kind of where this guy comes in. These have now gone through production. This is called a QuinLED Data Booster Maxi, because I designed several models, but I'm only releasing this one for now. And this one is basically a signal amplifier kind of sorts, for if you want to do longer runs. And I've designed this one to also be able to handle 24 volts in and out, and then also send out a 5 volt or a good new 5 volt LED data signal. So if you're doing longer runs and your data signal will get too weak, or you want to extend like behind an LED strip or stuff like that, you can use one of these boards. But that's for upcoming videos. We'll be discussing that in the upcoming weeks. I'm going to make some videos about that. And also what this switch is for, being able to switch between a 249 ohm resistor and a 33 ohm resistor, and why you kind of want that. But, oh, yeah, we'll talk about that in future videos. Air Cookie makes a good point. I am also not entirely sure if you can hook up multiple on the same LED strip. I think so, because they're still being fed from the same rail. Although on the other hand, it could create an imbalance. But in theory, the resistance on the LED strip would kind of also fix that, and they have the same main power supply. I'm not sure either. But you know what happens when I'm not sure about things? I test them. And well, I like testing things with you guys here. So yeah, at some point 5 volt doesn't make sense anymore, and you can move over to 12 volt. But 12 volt has its own downsides, especially if we're talking per 3 addressable LED strip. So then maybe a distribution network with 24 volts down to 5 volts would make sense. Because at some point, these down converters will become cheaper than the amount of copper you need to transport to 5 volt, basically. Let alone much easier. So, hey, I've got loads of plans of stuff to try and figure out and test. Yeah. So, what did everyone think? Because we're running towards the end of the live stream. What did everyone think? Did you expect to see smoke? Do you understand why we saw smoke? Does this make it easier to understand why you need certain cable thickness or gauge for a certain amount of amps? And again, we were testing with 40 amps. That's even 10 amps above the board rating. Board did fine, okay. But let's say in normal scenario, you can easily reach 20 amps. So hooking up like 1 times 16 gauge wasn't enough for 20 amps. Hooking up 2 times 16 gauge was. But then again, these cables are pretty short. The longer you make your cable, the thicker it needs to be. So maybe if your power supply is not like 50 centimeters away like we had here, but it's like 2 or 3 meters away for whatever reason, you might still need to step up to even thicker cables. That's kind of the conclusion today. Calculate the cables you need. Yes, high amps in tiny wires makes heat. That's the exact right conclusion, Mako. So, we kind of looked at the effect of voltage drop in this stream, but not so much what it causes. I have a different video which goes over voltage drop in regards to analog LEDs, where you can clearly see the effect of voltage or power injection makes in regards to brightness and power use and stuff like that. So that's not really what we did in this stream, but we certainly learned that you want to use the right gauge cable to make sure there's no fire. No, and the voltage drop calculator is still good, I think, but it's just not meant for dealing with, like, very short cables. I mean, yeah. Right, let's go to the face cam and start rounding off. Any questions about cable sizes and cables and stuff like that? If anyone is looking to purchase cables, this seller will be listed on the tools and equipment page, and is also listed in the description. These are 100% sure full real silicone cables, and they are also 100% sure copper. Yeah, and I like them. They have a good feel to them, and they're good cables. And I think I'll move to those new terminals. I'll have to see when I'm doing a new batch, but yeah. What do you guys think? Should I move to the new terminals or stick with the old ones? So, where is it? There it is. Let's do a little vote for the people that are left. Should I stick with these input terminals, so 3, which you can fit 16 to 18 gauge into, or should I move to this one so you can use like beefy power supplies like this easier, and you can easily use like 10 or even like 12, 14, or even 10 gauge if you wanted to. Okay, new terminals. Link of the Flir. Ask me in Discord, in the Quinbox channel. I'll link it. I have fancier test wiring, but they're heavier, so they draw themselves off the bench. Okay. The 3 terminals won't fit, and basically in the old version there were 3 terminals which each would then do like 10 amps, and on the new version each of these can do 20 amps, so you're still getting more input capability. I'm not going to uprate the boards, so the boards will still be 30 amps, but as you saw, even this 1OZ board didn't really have that much of a problem, and you can actually measure how much of a problem it would be by measuring the voltage on the incoming terminals versus the voltage on the outgoing terminals while there's load. And as you saw, that's like a 0.1 volt drop. That's not too bad. That's actually better than most of these cables. And especially if you get a pre-assembled version in 2OZ, I wouldn't worry about what the board can handle. I'll still rate them 30 amps, but I basically rated them 30 amps with peak of 50 amps because I know they'll handle 50 amps just fine. But, you know, I don't... It really depends on the scenario people are going to run the controller. On an open test bench like this, it's going to be fine. But if you put this controller into a closed box without any ventilation and the power supply is also in there, your ambient isn't going to be 25 degrees like it's here. It's going to be 50 degrees or even higher. And then, so I'm going to keep that 30 amp rating, but yeah. New terminals, we want beef. What's this Emma talk? Who is Emma? New terminals, the new connectors. Okay. Yeah, with a good meter, you can actually measure the resistance of a cable. With my meter, it's just going to be 0 for these cables. I mean, yeah. Brightness limiter is going to be important for the future. I guess if you want to under-design your setup, but... Oh, Mark's wife. Okay. Cool, okay. I guess I should join your streams then. Right, it's been 2 hours and 40 minutes. At 2:45, we'll call it quits. I do thank everyone for being here today. I knew this was going to be a fun one, but it certainly was. We got smoke. No problem. Just try and push like 30 amps to a cable that's not designed for it. But we also got a good lesson, like, hey, 2 times 12 gauge actually isn't that outlandish to use. I mean, but then again, my setup is kind of nuts. You're not going to run that in reality. But, yeah. That's okay, Maiko, that's fine. You just ordered 2 times 5 meter SK6812 to make a 10 meter run. What PSU and what gauge? Watch the power injection live stream I linked to earlier. I think I still have it here. That will tell you everything like that. It'll tell you total power. It'll tell you injections you need. It'll tell you how many amps those injections are going to use. And then it'll teach you how to calculate what thickness cable you need for that distance, etc., etc. So, watch that, type it out, or make a diagram, that also works well, and then come to the Discord and talk with us. And we love seeing that you've already thought about it, and then we'll give you tips and tricks and see how the setup is and maybe what you can do better, or, you know, if it's fine, etc. Sure, no problem, Timbo. Oh, you don't stream. Just Emma sometimes is there when I watch Sion streams. Well, I'm there for an unexpected maker, so hey. Oh, Simple Electronics actually chats in the stream. Cool. So mine always only appears when I run into really big problems and I can't solve them myself. like trying to get LED strip into a flexible tube. Yeah, no. 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 Hey, but we didn't have to call the fire department today. Although, I think if I didn't cancel the test of this one, we would have gotten pretty close to having fire. If this would have been PVC, that would have been burning for sure. Yeah, I was there when he did that. Yeah, the SK6812 for that with the dedicated white should look pretty good, Timo. At almost midnight. Yeah, I think I was there for that stream. BitLooney streams are fun. I like them. But I've had similar scenarios where I was testing the Home Assistant automation for my LED the house number sign outside. So yeah. No fire department, no fire department. I stopped in time. Sure, no problem. Andilge. I hope I said that right. So when I start mispronouncing names, it's time to stop. Okay, guys. Again, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for testing with me. Thanks for not having me blow up my house in a giant blaze of fire and smoke. And, well, we'll do more testing in the future. And I hope to see you guys there. And back to the videos and on Discord and in the comments, but yeah. Okay, bye-bye, guys.